Hello everyone. The title of this video is Pantheism Sexed Up Atheism? And that's the main question of this video. But first I'm going to talk about the new atheist movement and Richard Dawkins, who made the claim that Pantheism is sexed up atheism. Now, I first want to comment that Bishop John Shelby Spong once said that so many people know of Dawkins more for his atheism that they can't see his brilliant mind and how brilliant a scientist he is. And biologist Ken Miller, when asked if he thought that Richard Dawkins was full of mud, he responded by saying, first, that Dawkins is currently the best writer on evolutionary biology that is currently alive today. And also talked about Dawkins as a very honorable man and a good friend of his. Now, there are atheists who have said that Dawkins is rude and arrogant. After I had read the God Delusion, I gave someone else the copy that I had, and he looked at it and said, well, I agree with everything Dawkins says, but he says it in such a rude and snarky way that I can't like him. There are, on the other hand, other atheists who have criticized Dawkins for being too polite. Now, one criticism of Dawkins and the new atheist movement in general has been from someone who I personally would label as a spiritual atheist. The term he's coined for himself has been a polyatheist. He basically worships many gods that he doesn't believe in. It's kind of how he thinks of it. And he occasionally goes to church. I've run into him a few times on Sundays. He has been very active in synagogues. He even bar mitzvahed me, having some Jewish blood and a major love for Judaism in my past and in my present. He also is very well known amongst pagans local in the state of Minnesota. And he continuously makes up all these different stories about different gods and goddesses. But does he believe that any of them actually exist? Does he believe that any of these stories actually happened? And when I had a discussion with him on Richard Dawkins and the new atheist movement, he basically said that these people primarily have a very black and white way of thinking. They basically say you either believe in the doctrines completely and literally, all of them, or you reject the entire religion completely. And he basically said they don't understand symbolic meaning, metaphors. That was his big criticism. He also criticized them for basically simply attacking Christianity and Islam. They didn't attack all the different pagan religions. They didn't really complain about Buddhism or anything that's pantheistic. It's basically simply supernatural monotheism that they basically critique. And he pointed out that, well, that's a very easy religion to criticize and to attack. Now, the question that I address here, though, is pantheism sexed up atheism? Now, first, what does it mean to be sexed up? According to Wikipedia, being sexed up means being dressed up to be sexually appealing. Now, every day you'll see people who are sexed up. You might see women wearing extra short skirts and maybe certain boots. They might put on bracelets or rings. They'll maybe put makeup on. They might wear a smaller shirt that's maybe cut around the bottom. They might tease their hair a bit. And then you might see men who might do similar things. They might wear a special pair of shoes, maybe rings or bracelets, and they might have a couple of collars, a couple of buttons unbuttoned. They might do something with their hair. might trim their beard. Sometimes men even wear eye makeup. So, is there anything wrong with that? And I have to say, absolutely not. But then the question of this is pantheism sexed up atheism? Well, now I have to talk about what is pantheism and what is atheism. Now, atheism sometimes is defined as the belief that there is no God, but most atheists define it as a lack of belief in God, or maybe a lack of belief in the divine or divinity. While pantheism, on the other hand, is basically the belief that everything is God, or the belief that everything is divine in its own way. So, is pantheism sexed up atheism? I have to say, I personally don't think it is. Some people might even point out or say that pantheism is in fact the exact opposite of atheism. While an atheist sees divinity nowhere, a pantheist sees divinity everywhere. A pantheist will think of everything as divine, and atheists don't believe in divinity at all. However, neither of them believe in the supernatural. And if pantheism and atheism are both disbelief in the supernatural, then in a way you could maybe say that pantheism is very close to atheism, but it isn't really a dressed-up form of atheism. Now, there was a film and a picture where Dawkins had of sort of a scale from the traditional theist to the deist. Deists believe in a God that created the universe but is neutral. The pantheist and the atheist. Now, the traditional theist was a sheep standing on all four legs. It's basically a basic sheep. The deist, the sheep, was kind of a little bit lifted up, kind of getting up. The pantheist was the sheep standing on its hind legs, and the atheist was the human. Now, there were several pantheists who commented that they went backwards from the atheist to the sheep standing on its hind legs. So, there are several pantheists who will possibly say that pantheism is actually the evolved form from atheism, because they don't think that there's only one definition of God. Now, Dawkins, I think, thinks in terms of a very black and white scale. There's complete white on one end. We'll say that, to be nice to him, we'll say that the complete whiteness, the light, is atheism. And the complete blackened, as dark as you can get, is traditional theism. Now, Dawkins, well, with Dawkins there's white on one end, black on the other end, and 50 shades of gray in between. That's how Dawkins sees it. So, pantheism would be somewhere with one of these 50 shades of gray. From the lightest shade to the darkest shade, it's somewhere there. However, I personally don't see things as black and white with 50 shades of gray. How I see things is I see it more as a big spectrum of different colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. It's not this big scale from one end to the other. It's a bunch of different colors that all look very differently. Atheism is one color, pantheism is another color, deism is another color, traditional theism is another color. Then there are things like panentheism, pandeism, agnosticism, and all these different transtheism, all these different weird forms of theism, polytheism, monotheism. And I would say I really see them all as human beings. We all think in different ways. We all have different perspectives. And really, there is no one way of thinking. I think Dawkins' view seems to primarily be that there's one true way of thinking, one true understanding, one true perspective. And I guess it's an okay opinion. But I have to say that it's a bit black and white. However, is pantheism sexed up atheism? I have given my reasons on why it is not. But I do have to say that if pantheism is sexed up atheism, then I am extremely proud to be a sexed up atheist. Thank you for watching. Shalom.